What's up guys, Asian here again with another sort of reactionary post to damage shields and their changes in Murkmire. So if you guys have already seen my previous video, it was kind of looking at the class rep meeting notes that Gina posted, and they basically discussed the changes to damage shields. So they got rid of the cast time with damage shields, but instead they are limiting the max amount of these shields to only 40% of your max health. So naturally that got the question starting to flow. How much is this a nerf to PvE, or is this kind of a buff, or is it going to be relatively the same? How much do I have to worry about PvE content, because these are the primary shields for a lot of users? So I decided to dig in a little bit into the mathematics behind it and kind of figure out exactly what is going on with these damage shields. So just to kind of start things off here, I'm assuming that you guys are playing in Magicka Nightblade. Magicka Sorcerers, just because of the changes to Hardened Ward and Empowered Ward, they have very similar shield sizes if you're using Dampened Magic on any of the other classes. So just for simplicity's sake, we're just going to be sticking with the Magicka Nightblade with Dampened Magic, because that'll give us a pretty good comparison as to what you might expect to run in like a progression style guild. Now obviously the results that we see today are going to be a little bit dependent on your own specific group, your health, your max magicka, things like that. So for example here we have Ebon Armory, you have Minor Toughness, and we have Warhorn. They did say that the shield strength will still scale off of your max magicka, but obviously they're going to probably be changing the formula a little bit, so it's not like you always get 40% of your max health. We're assuming you're running Zahn with 1 health enchant, Sororias with 2 infused with max magicka. You're running 3 bloodthirsty, so you don't have any sort of additional max magicka. You're also running clockwork, such as fillet, and then your shield is on your back bar with twisting path on the back bar as well. So that's why we have 19,979 as our max health here. Obviously you can change some of these accordingly. So for example, you might run all magicka enchants instead of 1 health enchant. You might run a couple of arcane in here, and that's going to change your values a little bit here. But for all intents and purposes, this is what we're going to be using as our starting point here. So our shield right now absorbs 13,854 damage, and then it also increases by 6% for every piece of light armor. So we have 5 light armor pieces, so we're going to see a 30% increase to our shield as a result of this. So if we go ahead and bring up our statistical software here, so I am actually going to drop this down to the actual results here. So we are assuming that we are taking actually a magic hit. So this should actually be Ellie Defender, but I'm keeping it as Hardy. Doesn't really matter too much. So we're assuming that we're going to be taking a magic hit. So our resistances here is going to be 11,484. We're assuming if we also assume that we have like a warden healer perhaps, and we're getting maybe like major ward, and then we have minor ward from combat prayer, that obviously increases our spell resist. So let's just assume that we have our resistance buff, so we're at 18,084 instead. So just going to go down here and change this to 18,084. And so we're assuming a base hit of 80k. This is not entirely unheard of. Most PvE bosses will actually have base hits a little bit higher than this, I think. So this is not unheard of in PvE, your base hits being so high. And that's just because of all different damage mitigation that you have here. So we have this, and then I need to change the shield amount here. So we have, where is our shield amount here? So it's going to be 13,854 times 1.3, 13,854, 13,854 times 1.3, and this will be give our shield amount. We're assuming we have minor maim up because of heroic slash, and then we have 30% in Ellie Defender and 22% in Ironclad. Our max health is 19,979 because this is the bar that we're casting our shield on, even though we have less health on our front bar. So first, let's just start off assuming we're not blocking at all. Let's just see what our our damage is before with just the shield, like we're not blocking, and we're just going to ignore resistances for right now. So this is basically the base hit. So right now on live, pre is what we would see on live, and then post would be what you would see after live. Actually, I need to do one more variable here, which is going to be health shield, and that's going to be our max health, 99,979 times 0.4, because that'll give us 40%, the 40% shield that we need. So we're just going to go ahead and initialize all these variables here, and then we will do health.shield here instead of shield. So pre again is what's on live right now, and then post is what's going to be after these proposed changes happen. So we have the resistance are going to be moved up, so it's affected on the shield, and then we have a smaller shield overall. And so right now, on live right now, if we weren't blocking, we would have an initial hit of 18,134. This is before resistance and everything like that is calculated in. And then with these proposed changes, this drops down to 25,509.5. However, this does not, this isn't entirely the whole picture here, because we also have to take into consideration that we still have our resistances that affect the remaining damage, versus here, at this point, it's only blocking and any sort of block passives that we have. So like if you're a mag decay, you'll have that 10% additional block reduction. So if we include the resistances here, so we're taking 28,134 damage. So if we just subtract that out from our health, so this is the remaining damage that is left over. So if we multiply that by our resistances, this will give us the actual hit. So we'd actually be getting hit for 20.4k. Is that correct? Mame, Hardy, Ironclad. Yeah, so this should be correct. Versus post, where we'd actually be hit for 25.5k instead. So this is basically what it looks like right now. So this is going to be a nerf. It's actually a fairly sizable nerf overall. So it's about a 25% relative damage mitigation nerf overall. Just on an 80k hit. Again, these values are obviously going to vary depending on your specific build, your health, your max magicka, your shield sizes, everything like that, your CPs. But this is kind of what you can expect to see here. So if we go ahead and change our base hit, like if we increase our base hit, let's say to 120k or something like that, and we do the exact same calculations, this still ends up being 13 and a third, so 13.67% relative damage increase, just because we're having higher and higher base hits. But if we reduce our base hits to, let's say, 50k or something like that, same shield, same health, everything like that, it's a little bit higher. So you'll see a lower relative mitigation at higher base hits and higher at lower base hits, just because of the differences in the percentage values of how all these what are they called, modifiers are multiplied together. So you just have a lesser return with a lower base hit overall. So overall, just based on this, it does seem like it is definitely going to be a nerf. However, it's not really going to impact PvE too much. So let's say we're also blocking as well. So blocking gives us an additional 50% mitigation. I actually let me add a 1 in here. I can see here that actually let's go back to our 80k base hit for something that's a little bit more similar to in trial scenario. So on live right now, if you're blocking, you would be hit by 10.2k, and if you, after the changes, you'll be hit for about 12.7k, which is again about a 25% relative difference in the amount of damage that you're taking. But overall, that's not that big of a change. If you take into consideration how much health you have almost 20k health, you're still surviving that hit. So any hit that would kill you outright, even if you were shielding and blocking and everything like that, on live right now, it'll still kill you once Murkmire goes live, assuming that these changes go through. So it's not going to be that huge of a difference overall. So let's say like you get hit by a 100k hit or something like that as your base hit. You know, you're still surviving. It's going to be a lower increase overall, and if we just keep on pushing this up to the point where you actually would die, so let's say it's a 150k base hit. So obviously at this point you're dead, and you know the changes aren't really going to change anything at all. So if let's see if we can lower this down at all. So again, taking a look here, at this point here, this is kind of where you start seeing a difference here. So on live right now, you would actually survive this with about 1k health, but after the changes, you would actually be dead. and this is a 13 and a third difference like we saw before. So really, there's only going to be a very small window of damage, like base hit damage, that you would survive on live that would kill you with the changes going through. So overall, this is not going to be that big of a difference in terms of PvE content. The exception being, of course, maybe in like VMA or maybe for progression style groups where you're shielding very often or something like that. Overall, I wouldn't necessarily worry about these changes in PvE all that much. Really, there's, like I said, it's a very, very small window of values that would result in you actually dying from a one-shot. Usually, shields are used more for eating a hit before getting healed up. You would know if you're going to get one shot. So like if a trials boss decides to heavy attack you and you're shielding and blocking, chances are you are going to be dead on live, and the changes that they're proposing in Murkmire wouldn't change that at all. So hopefully I did double check this math, but because I was kind of doing a paper and presentation, I didn't double check it. So if any of you guys want to double check my math, please go ahead and do so. You can even go backwards if you want, like starting from your base health and work backwards to see what the base damage is that you would need in order to get one shot based on the health and shield sizes and things like that. I just don't really have time to do that right now because I have to go travel and do work on a paper and things like that, so I didn't quite do the reverse of this, but the kind of takeaway point is don't really worry about it in PvE too much unless you're like learning VMA or something. These changes aren't really going to affect you. What would already kill you on live is probably still going to kill you on PTS, and again, there's a very small window of values where this nerf would actually result in a death. So again, let me know down in the comments below what you guys think of this change. I'd like to discuss this with everybody from a PvE perspective and a PvP perspective, just because I don't really know how this change is really going to affect things in PvP too much compared to PvE. And it'd be nice to know kind of your guys' perspective on the PvP side of things. Hope you guys found this video informative, and I will see you guys in the next dungeon.